uh, can you hear me again online? I don't know. All of a sudden, meeting got closed. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, from when did it went off?
Just like half a minute ago, so we barely
Okay.
miss anything.
Okay. So as I was mentioning, so the SQL will think of, okay, I need to go to this table and I need to see for this column. So that is the importance of a dot operator. If you miss sometimes, SQL will throw an error like, okay, I don't find any table, I don't find any column name called. Yes.
Does it matter if you use lower or uppercase letters like customer?
I don't think it should, you should not throw an error, but yep, it is not throwing any error. Yeah. But it's good if you, yeah. So that is the importance of a dot operator. And now coming to the double quotation mark, which I don't think we have to use it mandatorily, but you can use it. For example, I don't want the table name. For example, you can see first underscore name. Okay. And I don't want to mention, I don't want it to be like underscore or something. I want an alias name. Okay. In this case, you can use a command called as. So it is basically we are renaming the column name as whatever we want. Okay. In this case, I am saying first name. Okay. So I'm basically saying I don't want to have underscore or whatever. So when we are using a space in order to make it as a single entity, we need to use a single quote. So that is why if you write first name without any space, then there is no point of using a single quote. But if you are using a first space name, try to use a single quote. Otherwise, there is an error coming. So if you rename it, you can see the first name has been renamed. And then, so when you are ordering by is nothing but, for example, the first names are in different order. Okay. First name, it start with a T. For example, you want to order it ascending order from A, B, C, D or something. So you can use order by. In this case, you can order by customer dot first name. Okay. Which will work. You can see A, B, C something, or else you don't want to use it. You want to order it as first name. In that case, you use a double quotes. Okay. So for example, we will just delete this and see, and okay. So that is I believe that is a use case I found it for the double quotes in SQL. Apart from that, I don't see any use case for this. You can use it as an instead of, so in this case, we have only a customer dot first name, which is very easy to put it here and order it. But if you think of a case like we have to combine first name, last name, and based on a condition in a select statement, in that case, this double quotes will be handy. You can use an alias for that. Okay. So that is a usage of double quotes. And so we have ordered by first name. So I have explained order by as and join. Okay. So now we will see some kind of aggregate function. Okay. Which is again useful when you are handling database which has numbers. Okay. For example, we will delete everything. Okay. So this is the order table. Okay. We need to find, I mean, in this case, we can just go to the last column and see there are 100 data in that. So instead of going to that much, for example, there are possibilities that your database will have thousands of lines. You don't need to navigate each line and see how much data you have. Instead of it, you can use count star or count one or whatever. Count star will count all the columns, what are the number of columns which has in the database. If you mention any particular column of the database, for example, in order table, if you mention product ID, how many product IDs are there, you will get the same number which is supposed to come. So for example, in this case, it will come as 100. Okay. But for the other aggregate function, in this case, yes, for min, max, sum, average, these things we can use in a different scenario. Okay. Go away, go away, go away. Yes. I will use the same. Okay. So I am coming to the same table to tell you the aggregate function. Okay. So we have joined the orders, the customers, and the products table. So as we have already seen, this is the data. Okay. We have to find the customers. So this is a problem statement. Okay. We have to find the customers who have paid more than 50 euros. Okay. And what are the products which they have bought? So this is a problem we need to solve. So for that, we have merged all the tables. Now we need to think of how we are going to make it. So this is how you will use aggregate function in database. Okay. So instead of star, you can just star comma. You can just have sum of. So sum is one of the aggregate function. Okay. In this case, what we are trying to sum up is the price of the product. I don't think it is printed here. So you can see the order table. Okay, here. So the price of the table. Okay, based on the price. Okay, for example, there are scenarios where same user has been purchasing multiple orders. Okay, in order to in order to calculate the amount of purchases where the customer made, so we need to use a sum of function. Okay, sum of what we are trying to sum up. Okay, in this case, we need to sum price. Okay, here you may think you can put only the price or orders of price. Since we are trying to select, for example, if you see the first line, we are trying to fetch the detail from the order table itself. So SQL will know the price column is in the table orders. Okay, you don't need to mention, but if you mention it, it's good. So now for the, to understand easy, so I have removed it. So we are summing up the price. Okay, and we are selecting all the details. I don't think we need. So maybe we can just get the first name. Okay, and the product name. Okay, and the sum of price. So this will, so if you can see, this has printed only the first name of the first user, the first user in the database, and the product name, and the sum of all the prices. What it has done is the aggregate function will use to calculate, use to add all the columns of the table to give us the result. But this is not how we want it. We need to group this table by a certain condition. This is how the group by statement will come into play. Okay, you want to tell how do you want to group by. Okay, it is basically like how do you want to see the table. So this will say the sum of the prices of all, but I am saying aggregate function, don't give me all the sum, you group by individual persons. Okay, so we will tell SQL like group by customer ID. We are not printing customer ID, but the database will have the customer ID. Okay, so you can see each username, this table I will come again, but the price of each user. Okay. For example, Marcus has purchased a product of 20 euros, Amos has 98 or whatever, but there is a catch. The product names have been printed only once. It is not been grouped. It is basically saying, for example, in the order table, Amos has purchased a lot. I will show the Excel which I prepared, so that will be easy to. So for example, Marcus is the first customer. Okay, that's what we are seeing in the table, and in the orders. Okay, we will select Marcus. Okay, so he has purchased only one product and its ID is 38. So you can see 38 is what? Scrubber. So for Marcus, it has come perfect because he has purchased only one product. But if you can see for Amos, he's the second ID. Okay, he has purchased 5 products. As you can see, what are the products? 57 is what? 57 is cosmetics. I don't know which is there, but what is second one? 26. 26 is what? 26 is bacon, which is not, because the aggregate function will take only the first value of it and it will not print the next. I mean, it will not group the, we have told the group by, to group it by the customer ID, not by the product or something. So our statement is, we need to understand what are the users there, what are the products he bought, and the price of the products. That is our goal. So we have achieved what are the usernames there and what are the price of the username. For example, we can cross check it. Amos has purchased a total value of 98 euros. Okay, in Excel you can just count like 21, 29, 29 plus 69, 98. Okay, this is 69, 29. So the amount of I mean, the total purchase amount has been right, but not that number of products. So there is a statement which can be used here in the select statement. Okay, we have to concatenate all the product names. Okay, so here we can say there is a inbuilt function. Yes, this is okay. So we are saying concatenate with product name and separate them by comma. Okay, I guess this is the same correction. Okay. I have wrote down the queries also actually. Once that is concatenate. I don't know. I wrote the same actually. Okay, I made a mistake here. I didn't put the comma. So the syntax was right. So the group concatenation shows the list of products which he has bought. Okay, the cosmetics, bacon, BBQ sauce he has bought twice, and a juice. Okay, so these are the products which he has bought, and these are the price of it. And we had one more condition. We need to find the users who has bought more than 50 euros. Okay, so in this case, so since the price, okay, I will just write as total amount or something. Okay, So in this case, we need to sort out based on the total amount, but the total amount is an aggregate function. Okay. Usually what we will do, usually we can do like where the price is greater than 50. So that is the usual case we will do it. But in this case, since it has an aggregate function, we need to use a command called having. Okay. Having, we need to write sum of price greater than 50. Okay. But whenever we are using having, we need to use it before the group statement, because the aggregate function will happen at the start. After that, the grouping will happen. Okay. So this thing you have to remember. In the case of ordering, you can use it after the group statement, because it is like it will try to print the details of the table after our condition is executed. But in this case, the grouping will happen after the condition is executed. I don't know whether it clears it out or not. So it's basically, if you are using ordering, you use it whenever you want at the last. For example, you want to order the customers based on the purchase history. Okay. That will happen once the details of the customer, for example, 10 customers we can take, and it will print all the details first, then the ordering of the table will happen. But in this case, we are calculating an aggregate function of the table. So the function should have a condition at first, then the ordering should come. Okay. So having should come at first, then we should group it. So in this case, we are saying having sum of price greater than, we are trying to identify the customers who have purchased more than 50 euros. Okay. Actually, yep. Sorry, ordering should come first, not the group. Yep. So you can see the total amount of users who has purchased products greater than 50. So this is the usage of a aggregate function. Okay. And there are other conditions like average and min, max, and also there are like use cases where you will mention temperature or measuring some kind of external parameters, climate or something. In that case, you can use average and min and max and things. For involving price and stuff, sum and count will always come in handy. And so basically in using this SQL query, I will try to tell how do you approach an SQL. So first you have to think of what are the tables which is linked for the problem. Okay. You need to join them and see what are the details you are getting. In this case, after we join the three tables, we got all the tables in an order. Okay. We can change the order also. That is also possible. If you put the product table at first and the customer's join statement at the last, the table will look like orders, products, and the customer instead of looking like this. So basically, you need to visualize how do you want to print those tables. After that, you need to think of a condition, what we are trying to achieve. So in this case, after our initial condition, we thought like we have to find the customers who purchase certain products and what are the price of the products. Okay. So that is a condition. And there is another condition, like not only the products which are purchased, the amount of purchase should be greater than 50. So that is our second condition. So that we have wrote at the second. Okay. After doing all this, you go to the select statement and see what are the things you need to see. In this case, I have wrote first name, the product names which are there, and the total amount. Okay. For example, you want to print also his phone number, also the address, or you want to combine the first name and the last name. Okay. You can just use the select statement to do it. For example, you want to combine the first name and the last name in this case. So actually, in other SQL, you can use concatenation to combine those columns, but in SQLite you can't use it. There is a restriction for that. So we need to use this pipe symbol. Okay, and I will just put the customer last name. Okay, so as is nothing but is an alias of a particular column. For example, in this condition, I am combining customer first name with a pipe symbol with the last name, and I can say it as a full name or something. Okay, so if you can see the first name, I can go to the Excel. So Amos as a first name as, I mean Amos, and the second name of it is Alvarez. But in this case, there is a, I mean there is no space, so just you can the single quotes and up. Okay, so this double pipe will combine the first name, add a space, add a second name. And because if you leave it without alias, it will be like very odd, because the column name will say all the conditions. So that is why it's better to use an alias to like say full name. So in this case, we can just rename the column, and we can rename it, and we can just try to print in a different way. Okay, if you want full name space, you can just add a colon in front, and so it will just add the space of it. Okay, this is, I believe this query will give a clear picture of most of the basic SQL syntaxes and the join statements. For example, the dot operator is nothing but to reiterate, it is nothing but to notify the columns which are there in a table, and the single quotes will be used for a string, and the inner joins is to combine multiple tables based on a parameter, based on a particular parameter. Group by will tell how do you want to group the table. If you are having an aggregate function, if you are not having an aggregate function, you don't need to use a group by, you can use order by ascending or descending or whatever. And because we used an aggregate function, we are using having. If we are not using an aggregate function, we can use var class, where the price of the product is greater than 50 or whatever. But in this case, we need to have a I mean single column. I mean, for each user, we need to combine multiple columns. That's why we have used an aggregate function. Otherwise, we can use a var condition. It will give all the orders, and it might have a duplicate value. So that is the case. And there is an operator and or. We can also use, I don't know, in this case, we can add one more. So we can, this is one of, this is the table. So we are trying to print the customers who are from couple of cities, for example, Espoo and Olo. So for this, we can use a conditional operator called and or or, okay, where city equal to Espoo and city equal to Olo. Okay. Okay, so in this case, it says there are no customers who are both in city Espoo and Olo. Ideally, it should be R. So it will print the customers from both Espoo and Olo. So this is a condition operator which can be used when you are having a multiple condition. Okay, for example, I want a person from Espoo who is a female. So then we have to print Espoo and the gender as a female, for example, and gender as whether it has, yeah. So it will print from the city Espoo also the gender female. So this is again one of the operator like and condition operator, and there are certain SQL statement. So now what we are trying to address is we are just handling the SQL queries, and we are trying to fetch the details from the database which is already there. Okay, so there is a separate part where you will create a database and you will give some conditions to the database, and you will insert some data to the database, and after the creation of the database, then you will try to handle those datas on your own. So that is the second part. This is just like querying part, I would say, how to query the data from the database, something like that. What more condition? Unfortunately for this data, I don't have any null value. I have given all the value, so I don't have any null case. But null is nothing but I would say simply like, for example, in the city column, if there is no city mentioned, okay, that is a null. And when you are trying to fetch a detail of a column which has a null value, you can't use like a single string or something. Okay, you have to use where city equal is not null, okay, or is null. So when you are handling null, there is a slight change. Instead of putting an equal to, you can use is not null or is null. And as we have seen earlier, if you don't know the spelling of it, if you are unsure of what the entire string is, you can use like. Okay, where city like, instead of equal to, we will put like, and we will use percentage. So that is the third part of it. So there are three ways you can have a condition here. And one more thing, union. And so till now what we try to do is we try to fetch the data whatever it is there, and there are the syntaxes which are used to insert a data, to delete a data, to update a data. For deletion, there are, I would say there are three ways to delete a data from a table. Okay, so one is, I will just add the commands here, I will not do something. So this is a delete command, drop command. I just like, it's not required you have to know these things, but it's good if you have some idea about it. And that is truncate. So I don't think truncate will work in DB SQLite. So there are different options for deleting a value from a table. For example, the most common method we use to remove a content from a table is delete. Okay, for example, you want to delete from and the table name and what you want to delete based on the condition. If you just do a delete, it will delete everything. Okay, just based on the condition you have to do a delete. If you use a drop, okay, delete will just delete the rows. For example, I am saying delete a customer ID 10. So it will delete all the customer details of the ID 10. Okay, but in the case drop, this will delete the entire table itself from the database. So if I tell drop the table, so this will remove the entire existence of the table. So that is one thing, which is also a kind of a deleting. And one more thing is truncate, which is useful when you are having a database of 200,000 lines of data. For example, if you tell, okay, if you tell if you tell to delete a data which is like which is I mean for a particular user, as I said earlier, so it's delete 20 to 30 users from the table. So in that case you can use delete command, but when you are deleting the entire table content, not the table itself, delete the content, you can use truncate. A truncate is like more process constraint free kind of a command compared to delete. Delete will go and check each rows and delete each one by one, but truncate will remove it in a much better way, you can say. So there are three types of three ways you can delete information from the table basically, and there is the command insert, okay, and update, okay. So insert is nothing but you have to insert, I mean, for example, I have 30 user ID. You want to create one more user ID and just insert the value of the user. So that is a basic concept. If you want, we can just insert one value to the customer data. Okay. So, uh, name address I will copy same city. So there are a couple of things which I believe you would have noticed in the lecture. So insert, if you are aware of the columns which are going to insert, for example, I'm going to insert all the rows of the column. Okay. In that case, I don't want to mention the column names of the table. I can just insert the value. For example, I want to insert or change value of a particular row. For example, I want to insert a user only saying the first name, last name. I won't insert all the information. In that case, you want to mention all the information about the column name, what you're going to insert, and then you have to insert the data. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to insert everything. So insert into customer. Okay. Values. I'll just, okay. So value is so you can see my information is added. Okay. And update is same thing. Update the customer set. What I can set. Mail equal to. So update, you should be very careful. Okay. I am updating the customer table and I am setting the email as ramesh@gmail.com, but for a particular customer where customer ID equal to 31. If I do without this where condition, it will just update all the customers data as the same email. Okay. So I have changed it. So you can see mail ID of he has updated as Ramesh. Okay. So these are the update and select statement. And the final one is delete. We can just delete the record which I created. Delete from customer. Okay. I'm just saying delete from customer. If I press enter, the customer table will be wiped off. It will have the schema of it. I mean all the column names, but the data will be erased. Okay. So in this case, before deleting, I am saying where customer ID equal to 31. So I'm just saying delete only that particular customer ID's data. Okay. So you can see it is deleted. So these are the 4 basic statements which to start off with SQL, and mostly we will be using select whenever you are analyzing the existing data or finding a query to solve a problem. These are simple commands like if you want to insert or delete or something like that. So for this is for insert, we have inserted one. For example, you want to insert all this data. Okay. If you want to insert all the data, you can just put a comma on to separate each data. Okay. Saying that this data is separate and you insert the second data like that. You got my point? Yep. One second. I believe, yeah. So this is like command. I mean, kind of a it got erased. So this is like a command line. You can just it's a text program or something. Something like if you want to, for example, when you are writing a query for handling multiple conditions, you might forget sometime what is this condition will do. You can just write a command line on top of it, like saying, okay, this will do this will do that, something like that. That double dash is just for that. Apart from that, there is no use. I believe I have covered most of it. Union is just nothing but write multiple queries having the same data types. Okay, as it is here. It has joined the 3 tables having the same data types. The actors, I mean the job of the thing, and the start year of it. So here is a data type of integer, date and time, and the actors will have a data type of a string. So if you have a same data type of columns, you can join multiple select statements. So that is the use of union, and union has a better processing or faster processing, or how do I say, it's like if you are handling multiple if you are handling some 100,000 data in a table, okay, you are trying to fetch a detail from that big table. If you are using a case statement, and the process time of using a case statement will be higher when compared if you are writing a query in unions. Okay, because if you write in case statement, each case will have an iteration of n into n plus 1, but in union it will have a separate iteration. So it will have, for example, if you are doing a 10 iteration to check 10 rows, it will do 10 rows. So that there is a, I mean, those are like optimizing queries. So this is not like at this point of time it's not required, but whenever you are writing a query, you need to think how optimized it is. There is an assignment question I remember to insert a new player or something. In that case, people might have multiple insert statement instead of it to find the first rank player, to find the second rank. I believe that is a question, first rank and the last rank of the player, and just add one more, something like that. So in that case, you should think instead of finding it manually, like, okay,